Morning everyone, so today we're at an Audi. It's an Audi A5 and the model year is 2015. Customer's complaint is engine management light is on but it's intermittent, he says. And we've also got, what else we got? I think you're needing the washers topped up. So we've done a full code scan and the service says engine electronics, a P047F00, exhaust pressure control valve A, so that's the active static. A P047 Foxtrot 00, exhaust pressure control valve A stuck open, and a P06900 cooling fan 1 control circuit low. So in order to ascertain what is bringing the light on, we jump into OBD, but I would imagine it's this exhaust pressure control valve. So my question is this a fancy name for an EGR valve, or is this a control valve within the exhaust that can control the flow of exhaust gases back in to the low pressure EGR valve? So I think it's maybe in the exhaust, but could be wrong. Been wrong many times before. Climate control module, refrigerant temperature, so it'll not have any refrigerant in it, guaranteed. And that's about it. So let's just pop into this module. So there's all the hoo-ha. It's a 2 litre. Engine code Charlie November Hotel Alpha. Now I've seen that engine code before. Is that the one that's on that Amarok? Amarok? Could be. Right. Read DTCs. So it's exactly the same again. At least this one's passive. So let's come out and let's just jump back into OBD. So we're going to local diagnosis, EOBD. Say voila. DTCs in the ECU. So we go into read fault codes. Oh dear, here we go. So 4 generic VW, let's just hit, can't see Audi, can you? I'll just hit VW, that'll be good enough. Exhaust pressure, exhaust pressure, exhaust pressure. So I hit saying it's a P0475. So it's stuck. Right, let's go and have a look. So someone marked the engine cover. You think that's maybe for a service or for an oil change? Don't know. So there you go, the engine bay is absolutely jam-packed. Oh no, I thought it was a petrol. Here it's a common rail diesel. So I wonder where this sensor would be about. Maybe the snap-on would tell us. Could try that. So there's the EGR valve there. I'd imagine that's, no, that'll be for the turbo. That's for turbo actuation. There's a high pressure fuel pump. There's a fuel pressure sensor. It's a bit fancy here. Don't know what that is. There's a couple of lambda sensors there. Or one will be nitrous oxygen sensor. There's a pressure sensor for in the exhaust at the turbo. We have changed one of these before. That's some pressure sensor. Is that the turbo pressure sensor? No sure. We'll go and get some information. Update. I spoke to the main dealer, and indeed, in the exhaust, there's an exhaust pressure control valve. Now he says it's after the flexi pipe. So that's what we're going for. And I'll let you see it. So this is another day. So Ronnie's underneath the car and he's located that valve. So we cleared the codes, tried to get it to actuate, it did not, so he disconnected it just to make sure we're on the right component. So it's a P048 Echo 00 exhaust pressure control valve position sensor switch circuit high. Now this came up with that code because he has now disconnected it, but at least we've ascertained we were on the right component. We went to Audi Volkswagen and we got this component, but we actually think, I was speaking to Russell Duncan this morning as well. Russell's an Audi Volkswagen specialist, and we think it's actually part, it's within the exhaust, the actual flap that moves So I don't think we should be condemning this first. We'll maybe get that off and see if it can move. So I'll keep you updated. There's the exhaust control valve. You can see that one moves no problem. So we've took off the old one, and even with it off it'll still not move, so we're going to check the wiring here. So we'll start from the right and work our way to the left and see what we get. So I'd imagine we need 12 volts, a ground, 5 volts, and then another 5 volts, and then another ground. The wire still lies, so we're at the wire on the left. So you can see that, I'll tell you what we've got there. There you go, we've got a good 4.9 volts. We'll go to the next wire. There's the next pin in, oops. And you can see we're reading, oops, 4.9 volts. Let's go to the next one. So that looks like it's got a ground coming in going. So we're into the middle pin. That looks odd. Let's go, but it just shows it's flat lined, so funny thing that. There's the second last pin to the right, and you can see there we've got 11 volts, so that'd be supply. And then on our last pin I've got 5.5 volts, so I think everything's, well, I think everything's there. So that's just on a 12 volt supply. It's the second pin in for the right. You can see that lights up our test light. So I think we're just going to replace that valve. I can't make head nor tail yet, so maybe need to adapt it to go in. Maybe that's the problem. The lack of good evidence of just replace that motor. Let's see how this goes. You can see I've wedged it into there. We've seen that the AdBlue light was on, so we're going to try some of that. Let's see. Alright, Roddy! Refill AdBlue. There we go. So, AdBlue goes in there, under this little cap, 16mm socket. That was quite tight, I can tell you. There we go, let's see if the lights went out. Engine management light's still on. We'll shut that door, Roddy. And we've just put about 5 or 6 litres of AdBlue in. So the AdBlue light's disappeared. That's between the brown wire and the yellow wire. So you can see that we've got 4.99 volts. I'll show you that one there. So there you go, the brown wire, which is pin 3, which is in the middle, and number 1, which is 5 volts. So let's keep on the brown and we'll go to the next wire, see what we have there. We're now going between the brown wire and the blue wire, the blue-white, which is on pin 2. So you can see that up there. Pin 2, that's it there, blue. And on the scope, we have 3.9 volts. Oops. If I move that, if I move the actuator here, that changes this voltage. So we're going to do that. There you go. So that's what that circuit is on pin 2. That moves that voltage, 0.25 up to 4.74. Oops. 4. Oh, this focus, man. So that's working. I'm now between the brown wire and the blue wire on pin 4. Brown is 3, blue is pin 4. You can see there's a funny looking signal. It goes about 11 and a bit volts, and then it drops down again. There we go, and goes back up. So that's pin 4. There you go, I'm shaking the wire. Look at that. Look at these dropouts. Put it off for you. So I'm just shaking the wire here. So somewhere in the wire. Oh, is it up there? Oh. No sure, but look at that. That's nasty. Let's make sure our connection's good. I think that was actually my probes. My probes weren't the right ends, so I think that was bad probes. Oh, that threw me. I thought I'd found it. So let's try and move this bit here, see if it makes any difference to the scope. See, it does. That must be the wires for the motor. I put AdBlue in this thing. Let's see if this makes any difference. Right. 2.72 volts. That is that valve in its mid position, and I can clear the code. So I'll show you that. So there's the valve, straight up and down in its mid position, 2.72 volts, clear the code. But if you put it in any other position, it generates a fault code. So I'll go and do this. So that's it, doing it 0.25, and we'll check the fault code, read DTCs. So exhaust valve, control valve, position sensor circuit open, right? So if I go and move that valve to the next position, sorry, if I move it to that position, that's at 4.73 volts. As I get, there you go, valve rate, exhaust pressure control position sensor circuit open. So if I try to clear them, clear fault codes, yes. Yes. So it comes back. It's only in the mid position can it clear, so I'll show you that. Put it in this position. Well, that's close enough. 2.73. 2.73. Clear fault code. Yes. Yes. So that clears. So I'll try an actuation test. Exhaust flap, okay. Start it, and it fails it. I'm going to start the car and see if this moves, because when I had it in that position up there the last time, in the neutral position, at the zero position, it moved into the middle. So let's see if this moves. And a long time base, 20 seconds, and it never moved. Go back, nothing. So we'll go back to this one here. There you go, it moves there. So let's see if I start the car again and it moves this time. Right, to sum up this video, the old part did not work. We put the new part on, it did not clear the codes. We refilled it with AdBlue, and now the thing has cleared, the fault has cleared. But I cannot actuate that valve using this scan tool. So if I go into active tests and I go into exhaust flap, it does not move. And when the thing is on the car, you're sitting there at 4.4 volts. So this has been bizarre. It needed the part, but why would it not clear the fault? Maybe because it's all to do with the emission system? I don't know. We're going to run it, see how it gets on, but that's bizarre. Spoke too soon, the trouble code is back. Right, here's something I figured out. Pins 4 and 5. So 4 is power, and I think 5 is pulse ground to make the motor work. So I've got my, alright my man, so I've got my probes set in. So we ran over the top of it, as you can see, with half. So if I give this the beans, oops. Watch this, Roddy, and then that motor indeed is working. So nothing wrong with that motor, and the car still hates the new one. So we're flummoxed. Back to the drawing board. This is me on that blue wire, which is, I believe, is a positive to the motor, because it only needs a positive and a negative. And watch this. This is what we've seen in the scope. The power comes and the power goes. So what's it trying to tell us? So let's go to the other side and give it a, see if the ground can ground this thing out. The ground side of the wire, and watch this. When the light goes out, the thing's actually started to work. So we're then grounding it down through our test light. So we've gave it ground. Now you can hear the thing. Right, so I'll give that a ground. So that must mean that the... Oh. Confused. Right, plan of action. So I'm on that blue wire, you can see that, and the power keeps dropping out and back in. So that's grounded with this brown wire with the blue trace. So what I'm going to do, is this one losing it, or is this one grounding it out somewhere else? So cut this wire, this brown wire, and see if this keeps constant. And if it does, it's something to do with this circuit, but if it keeps dropping out, it's something to do with the PCM who's dropping it out. So let's just go for that. Here's my set of snips went to. Let's snip her up here. Wait till she drops it. Right. So cut the wire. Oh, and it's still dropping out. There we go. So it's the PCM is dropping the feed to that wire intermittently. Why is that? And you can see that takes 1.5 amps. I mean, that's a regular pulse. Right, there's no that. We've finally got the light to stay on, and it's to do with the setup position of this thing here. So, and you can see it on the car here. I think if we can put a wedge in there, I think this is going to work. Because that was flashing before in default mode, and it's good now. But the still thing's never actuated. That doesn't matter as long as it likes it. This machine's driving this insane. So we've came up to the ECU and look at this wiring cover. I don't know. Does that look original? Somebody's been in there already, eh?
Looks like it.
Right, we've got to try and track this for here. It's on the 94 pin connector bit. So we're into pin 7 on the 94 connector ECU, and we're giving it the beans going down through the blue wire here. So, and that goes to the blue-green wire of the actuator. So if Roddy goes down through that, and I've connected it down there, so you watch this. So you see that wire integrity is good. Roll that out, good.
Back in.
So we've tried down this one here, which is 29, which is right underneath 7. We gave it the beans, and indeed our test light does not light, and we have 0 continuity. So we've got a problem between here and the component. Right, another day. So we're back at this. So we're chasing this open circuit and pin 29, which for the motor. Right, so I spoke to a few folk as I always do. So I spoke to Dave Sterling, Russell Duncan. Thank you very much for your help. But the guy who nailed it for me right away was my sister's brother-in-law. He works in a VAG agent. He says, Sandy, look under the AdBlue tank, because AdBlue drips onto that or leaks onto that and corrodes the wires. So, but anyway, we'll just prove the point with this. So, just to see if this tool works, he used it as well. So, this sends a pulse. You can see that like that. So that'll be going down through the loom there somewhere. But anyway, I'll show you under the car. What's pulsing already? So you can see the pulses. Pulses along there, then it stops, Roddy. Aye. So it pulses. You go up to the. I think it does it. Oh no, it doesn't. Pulses, then it stops along there. It does. So There's the wire there. There's the corroded wire there. Oh, can I see my finger in the shot here? Oh, hi. There's the corroded wire right there. There's a good bit corroded actually, hey? So we'll need to pull that apart, high resistance. There we go. Oops. Dr. Bowler. Just carrying out the repair. What a murderous location. It's right up butted to the wiring harness just before it goes through the floor. And we had to remove the multi-plug from the AdBlue unit. So, and the wires are thin as anything. So we've got our heat shrink on the first bit. Just solder the next bit. There we go. There's a bit of beta testing here, stress testing.
Stress testing.
Stress testing. Oh, look at that, that's good Napier.
Yeah.
And then get the old heat shrink on. Now we make it nice and red. We'll make it nice and red. We put red heat shrink on. So at least if our colleague has to go in again, they know exactly where we've been. Very noticeable. Everything back together, wire repaired, so you can see that's moved to passive sporadic. So we'll clear the codes, but we may need to adapt it. So clear DTCs, yes. Yes. So, okay. We'll then go into adaptation, or is it basic settings actually? I think it's basic settings. Let's go back. Basic settings. So adaptation of exhaust flap. We'll start it. Oh, you hear it, Roddy? We have lift off. We can hear clicking. So basic setting ended, so that's good. Escape, escape, trouble codes. Nothing at the moment, we'll start her up. So we're going to give it a run, but it's looking good at the moment. No fault codes detected. So I'll nip down and, well, nah, no really matter. I don't know when the flap will work. But there we go. Cheers.